Yes. So I mentioned earlier in the how about the Web3 framework that the developer can use to develop intrinsic Web3 apps. Because right now you have what we call like the low level developments. It's like in the 50s, people kind of really just develop, writing machine code or best like assembly code to develop applications, right? And you need to solve every fundamental problem yourself, your own UI and your own libraries for your domain. So that is hard until first high-level language, not just languages, but frameworks. For example, like COBOL is not just the language; it's a way of thinking how to program, financial apps, accounting, all that. So it's a way of thinking. You would think higher-level languages are just this arithmetic, logical operation that's just an easier way to program. Assembly is not, right? So I have libraries, I have frameworks. We read those. Right? Today's Web3 world is like that. So we all being immersed earlier today, the power of like a zkVM, zero knowledge virtual machines that provide true universal verifiable computing. But what to develop using these tools, right? So if you don't have a kind of framework to guide your thinking, to guide your way to construct apps that stick to the principles of decentralization, it's no different than the Web2 apps, right? You can give a zero-knowledge proof of a Web2 app, and it's still a Web2 app. Now, everybody realize Web3 intrinsic apps, you need kind of like a framework to plan the apps you're developing. Okay, so Entangled Rollup is a kind of framework, that is Web3 intrinsic. All right, so what problem are you going to solve? So as I mentioned earlier, the fundamental kind of challenge or problem a Web3 developer encounters is how to prove that you're you, right? In the election world, there's no such problem, right? You just trust everything, the data center AD, because there's a company, a corporation to guarantee that was centralized. But in Web3, you need to do that all yourself. And worse, the blockchain crypto world is fragmented. And the fundamental mental image of blockchain is that there's only one blockchain, right? So that is a big problem. In eyes of Bitcoin, there's just Bitcoin. So every blockchain that you program thinks the universe is all theirs. There's no other. And so that's a problem. And already that problem, bridge was invented. And bridge is the master thing. All right, so today I'm going to talk about a kind of, this is really revolutionary because it breaks all the nodes, right? All right, so it's Rollup is all you need is because Rollup is a framework developed for Ethereum scalability, but it's actually more than that. It's more powerful than you think. And zkVM is also really powerful and magical than you think. So cross-chain Rollup as the richest bridge. What is it? So this is me. I'm the chief scientist of ZKM. And you can follow me on Twitter, on X, where I also discuss these fundamental problems, the economy, they call black economy. But for today, let's get on this Entangled. So let's get back to the problem of all the blockchain things. They're the only blockchain will go in the universe, right? So basically, we need to change that. If you stick to, my blockchain owns the whole universe, then you're just using this nasty solution called bridges. And bridges are nasty because they're not part of either blockchain you're sending from, your asset, and the blockchain that receives that asset, right? Basically, they're the middleman. They're not part of either blockchain, meaning that they're not part of their consensus, which is really, really important. And since they don't have that, they don't have any security. They're purely based on reputation, which is bad because meaning that they'll all be doing bad things eventually. All right, so this is the problem. This is the problem, a fundamental problem of the blockchain world. So, the bridge, you have to use them with every blockchain sees they're the only blockchain. But we say there shouldn't be blockchain exist. There should be no bridge, and there is no bridge because bridge has nothing to do with blockchains. So that's the situation today. Blockchain bridges are all sort of trusted bridges, meaning that you have to trust them, which is not a decentralized way of thinking. So the operation, they all depend on centralized entity or committee. Doesn't matter. I was discussing MPC, right? MPC are no secure or safer than any centralized entity or company. Multiple signature doesn't provide any of that security because if they do, we don't need blockchain, right? Security depends on the bridge operator's reputation. I say mostly because there's solution called zkBridge, which is still a committee, but it does not escape the problem I mentioned earlier, which is bridges are not part of the consensus of either the source or destination blockchain. So that's why I say mostly because they claim that you can sort of bring a proof and then you aggregate that proof, it's very messy, all right? So I say mostly. And custody, this is important because in the world of blockchain, we all know an old saying, kind of old now, that not your key, not your money, right? So if you don't own the private key to some asset, you don't own that asset, right? That's the problem with bridges, right? Any operation, you need to give it away. You need to send it to some entity that promised your money or assets safe, right? So that's the problem. Because that's the problem with all the bridges. They call those custody bridges. And then from time to time, you'll see most of the bridges claim, we're centralized and we're trustless bridges. But actually, trustless bridges is something in the thin air. It's very hard to. It's fundamentally bridges are not compatible with the word trustless. Well, let's just say this is the holy grail. In order to be trustless bridges, what do we need, right? So for operation, they're using smart contracts. Decentralized systems, or basically blockchains, they have to be part of some blockchain, right? But they're not part of the blockchain they're trying to connect to, so they're primary. Security is that we require them to be as secure as the underlying blockchain, which is a conundrum, right? Because they're not part of either blockchain they're connecting or bridging. But we require that they acquire the native security of those blockchains. So there goes the security. And a certain, quality that's kind of need to have is custody, right? So in the true decentralized systems, that you own your private key, it's called self-custody, right? The money is always yours, assets is yours. when you have the private key. So the bridge needs to have that too, meaning that another part is my assets. For example, if you're staking and you don't do anything wrong, right? And you assets shouldn't move away from your private key. Yeah. Currently, bridges can't do that, right? If you want to stake, send it to some bridge owners, right? And they're probably feast on that you give them your money, right? And they're wrong when it's tomorrow, which many of them do eventually. So to design the best system that be the holy grail, we can model them like, in design contracts, like two levels. One is for assets, digital assets, financial assets. We call them bridge. The way to argue about them is also threefold, and it's called bridge dilemma. And another way is to think it in a more broad and abstract way, which is we call it interoperable dilemma, which is kind of not treating assets like just financial assets. You're treating like computational states. It's very generalized, beyond assets, the digital assets, financial assets. Okay, so what would they do if we want to argue or think about the constraints? So in these three assets as well, like one is called the instant guaranteed finality, because we're connecting to blockchains, right? So if you're part of their consensus process, you need finality, right? And you need something called instant finality because you want to get assurance right away. And then another thing called mutual liquidity, meaning that assets need to mean something, right? So bridge, if you're not part of the blockchain, how can I say that my assets mean what it intends to mean on the other blockchain, right? It also seems very conflicting, but this is constraint. You need to do that, unified liquidity. Bitcoin needs to mean something on the Ethereum network. Ethereum needs to mean something on the Bitcoin network, where each blockchain thinks the whole universe doesn't have other blockchains around. So yeah, you got that. And then native assets. So if you have these are requirements, you need something called native assets, meaning that Bitcoin is Bitcoin in the sense that the consensus involves them, right? For example, you can have something called, for example, like let's use Ethereum. It uses the most capable blockchain, like ERC20. Those are native assets. Let me resend back a little bit. Actually, Bitcoin or Ethereum are not called native assets. They are coin-based assets. You can't get beyond that. But native assets in the sense of like ERC20 is as secure as the coin-based assets if they're constrained by a smart contract and being bound to the consensus on that blockchain. And you take this further, right, beyond just financial assets. You can treat these assets like, you generalize them, treat them as like computation or states. Then, so in that sense, we have trustlessness, basically same security assurance as underneath blockchain without adding new trust assumption. So this is kind of abstraction that as a minimum. And extensibility, meaning that a single liquidity pool, meaning that a pool for all computation states, they are consistent. And general value, they knew that you have to receive assets or states that are consistent, and basically they need to have meaning. All right, so those are the ways to model this. You can see it's all like conflicting and just doesn't sit well with the single universe point of view of blockchains. Let's think beyond that, how to solve this So the way to solve this is not treating blockchains as universe. Treat them as multiples. So meaning that we have to give meaning of a existence that multiple universe, multiple blockchains coexist while not changing the consensus protocols or rules. So how do you do that? We found a way. It's called Entangled Rollup. We explored the powerful magic concept of the rollup. So what's special about rollups? So rollups are themselves bridges, but they're not cross-chain bridges. We call them vertical bridges. And this special kind of bridge is they are as secure as the underneath blockchain layer 1. For example, Ethereum rollups, no matter it's like Optimism rollup or ZK rollup or the Arbitrum that is kind of similar, they are as secure as the Ethereum themselves. So that's their special of them. And they support native tokens, right? So because they're bonded to Ethereum on the base blockchain. But the problem is that they're not horizontal, meaning that they can't do blockchain, cross-chain. They're just, roll-up on Ethereum is just only deals with Ethereum. If you build roll-ups, for example, for other blockchains, they only work on that blockchain. So the way to get around this is to employ the thinking, like I said, about multiverse. In the physical world, we have quantum entanglement. Because quantum entanglement works like this: is that the entangled states kind of keep that connection, even if they're separated across the universe. It's like they keep the information. There's no entropic or information loss in the entangled states, and there's no information transfer because the information is preserved, and that is a very powerful quality to have. So in that sense, if we can't achieve something like the quantum entanglement because of the problem of blockchains or universes not multiverse. So blockchain can keep their separate consensus coherence, their own coherence, but they're connected by the entangled states. That's the only way you can build to achieve all the restraints, like completely restraints or trustless bridges. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that the bridge cannot transfer information. Now, if you do cross-chain message transfer through some bridge, you can't. If you do that, the bridge is not secure because they're not part of those blockchains, like all the problems I said earlier. But if you achieve an entangled states, you sort of build something I called earlier, bridgeless bridge, right? Yeah, for software matchable, right? How do we do it? How do we do it using like a vertical rollup? Okay, so entangled rollup is just being able to have that built on rollups, right? They're entangled because they're built with the vertical rollups. There will be no horizontal rollups. I'll show you. Okay. Here, since this is difficult, so I won't go into technical details because you need to kind of get the thinking right, so you understand what this is. On the left are normal rollups, right? So we would have, so this is one rollup on chain A, right? So chain has layer 1 and chain A also has layer 2, right? So layer 2A, layer 1A, layer 1, layer 2. And they're connected by the rollup mechanism. In this case, it's the ZK rollup, right? We have a sequencer, you have a prover. And there's another blockchain, let's say like this Bitcoin, this Ethereum, it's also being constructed this way. they have, you can see they have no cross-chain linkage, right? And their naive way to build the sort of the cross-chain rollup is that many have like kind of noticed this when they build like proofs. Why can't we reuse the same proof, right? If the common, because many blockchain adopt the same kind of BL, right? Many blockchain are claimed to be like EVM compatible. So if you get a proof for EVMs, they're exactly the same. So can we just use the same proof? So this is a naive way to do like a cross-chain rollup. But the problem with this, as I said earlier, is that the assets on one blockchain doesn't mean, so your proof mean nothing, right? You generate proof on Bitcoin, so maybe an ERC 20 asset on Bitcoin network is, let's say you build that, right? I'll share with you like Gold network. And you say, okay, so the asset is a Bitcoin network ERC2 asset, and I have the proof of some operation on that asset, and I just reuse the proof because I generate proof is a zero knowledge proof, so it can be trusted. But thing is, top ERC20 means nothing on your destination blockchain, right? That ERC20 has no meaning on this blockchain, so they're not the same, even though you can call them the same, even though you have the same proof, right? So that's why you need to have this kind of thinking. Okay, so here is the entangled rollup. This looks like complicated. So basically what we add is we call it ZKM, is a win layer, right? And another important device is called the shadow contract. And this is basic design. I'll give you an example how this works. Okay. Say you have assets, you set it to layer 2 and sequencer generates proof, set it to prover, prover generates proof, and you set it to layer 1 to verify, right? This is the standard ZKM process, nothing special. And see, like here we have something called a liquidity manager. So liquidity manager in the financial application world is this sharing contract, right? If I have more time, I'll explain why it's called shadow contract. It has something to do with cosmologists are interested, but let's just stay with this for now. And then it sends to the relay and send this one like down and up. This is also another standard rollup. So in this case, you don't see like cross chain linkage, right? So we don't send any information cross chain. So it's not a bridge, but it achieves the sharing of information into the two chains. So it's a bridgeless bridge. So why this work, right? Why do, in this case, the asset has meaning on the other side? Because of it. So liquidity manager achieves something of like a common knowledge or pre-knowledge. You can also call them pre-information. So you don't need to kind of send the explicit information over, but with the liquidity manager, that is pre-satisfied. And with that, you just need to kind of prove the logic that operates on those liquidities. And so this way, it's a bridgeless bridge with the rollups. So that's why it's called entangled. I'll have to be quick. So, right. So this is entangled rollup. It's a application of zkVM. So the power of zkVM shows here, right? zkVM, if it's just be used as reference computing for what we have, it's more expensive. No, we're getting it cheaper and faster, but it cannot be as cheap and fast as the native. Yeah, like I said, you can't go beyond the speed of consensus. So what gives? Because of this. Because you can do this that cannot be done without the zkVM, right? All right, so we built a application called Gold Network, which is a Bitcoin Layer2. So that's why I give you the example of Bitcoin. I think I have a bit of times. Let me, right. yeah, I don't need to go in detail about gold network because it's just a manifestation of just realize this. Yeah, so this is the framework I'm talking about. This is for you to develop really Web3 application that we don't build something owing the habit of Web2, right? Something like bridge. Bridges are things the kind of idea brought over from the old world, right? To solve a problem that actually intrinsic to the Web3 world, which is there's just one blockchain. It's like Parmenides, right? Parmenides is basically saying the world is an atom and that's just the one atom, right? There's no other atoms. So this is a problem, and bridges are the ones people solve. But you can't solve that with the Web2 thinking. This is the Web3 thinking. Okay, so questions?
Thank you, Ming.
Okay, so if you like, you can follow up us. You can follow my X here and more of this content.